Ladies and gentlemen, this is an absolutely incredible moment. We read in our Sedra last week, we're going to read it again, a similar thing this week. The Israelites are in the desert and they're complaining. And they say, let's go back to Egypt. We'll have a new head, a new leader, and he'll take us back to Egypt. They'd forgotten what Egypt was like. We are sitting here now on a site which is so developed. We have houses, we have flats, we have a kosher restaurant. It's the first time for many, many years there's been a kosher restaurant in Brighton and Hove. We have a kosher shop. They love the food. We're going to have, when it rains, we're going to have a mikveh here. And we got this beautiful shul. And it's wonderful. And when we think what it used to be like on this site, with an old, rambling shul and two decrepit buildings, and what it's become, we should never be looking backwards. We should always be looking forwards. This project, which has had to cope with many things, including COVID and lockdown, this project has taken years to come to fruition. But I'm sure everybody agrees that as we look around at this state-of-the-art modern shul, so beautiful, so comfortable, that it's been well worth the wait. And so much of the credit goes to one person, and he's sitting here with us today, and his name is Mark Sugarman. Really, Mark and I have had many, many discussions over the last few years. A lot of discussions. We've talked a lot. And this has moved, and this has developed. And it's down in so many ways to his vision and his tenacity. I remember coming here a few years ago when it was still a building site, and the things were beginning to sprout. The buildings were taking shape. And I turned around to him, I said, you've got a lot here, haven't you? And he says to me, that's what I'm trying to tell everybody. Well, you don't need to tell us anymore because we can see it. Mark is the Chief Executive Officer of the BNJC, which will provide so many activities, so many resources for our community. And it's a great pleasure for me to call upon him to be the first speaker here today.
Rabbi, thank you for those incredibly kind words. Thanks, everyone. It's so nice to see so many people here. It's unbelievable, really special. Thank you for coming. I was actually bar mitzvahed in this shul. It wasn't this shul. It was actually Muse House 5. I won't say who lives there now, but this is a beautiful, beautiful shul, and there are many people I need to thank for creating it. But it's a big step up from where we are, and as the rabbi said, it's something we can all be really proud of. The project today is really founded on 3 bets. The first bet is a genuine bet, is the bet the Bloom Foundation took in 2015 that we could break the cycle. The cycle at that time was a vicious one, where we were losing members up to London, and then there was less money for investment, and then there were fewer members even after that. And we took the view that Brighton is an unbelievable city, and that if we got Jewish infrastructure in place, then at some point in the future we could tempt young people to come back to the city and make it something very special. And that's the bet we took back in 2015. And here we are in 2023, and that's what we've achieved to date. The second bet that I want to talk about is bait, community, which is really what this project is all about. And we took the advice of the Chief Rabbi, actually, where he talked about trying to create multiple touch points for community so that people would have a reason to come. And the shul is metaphorically and literally in the center of this development. And the restaurant, all the applause you gave earlier, is clearly the most important thing in terms of food. But there's many spokes on the wheel that we've tried to put into place. We have co-working, we have a gym, we have classrooms for St. Christopher's, our neighbors next door. And the idea is that people will come, will use those facilities, and then they will come to the shul. They will come to have a bite to eat, and we will create a sense of community. So that was really the second bet that we had in mind. The third bet was Aleph Bet. Bet being the second letter of the Jewish alphabet and standing for the number 2. And our view was that community centers used to be the third place people would come to. They would be at home, they would be at work, and then they would come to the center. These days, we have co-working, so you can actually work at the center as well. And we also thought that the number 2 was appropriate because we want to not just be a facility for the Jewish community in the city, but also for the Jewish community nationally and internationally. The idea being that people will come here and stay because they know there's a mikveh, they know there's a shul, they know they can have kosher food, and they can stay on site. We've held back a few apartments that people can have holidays down here with us. And that's very much part of the plan. So really the Chief Rabbi personifies much of what we're trying to create here for the national Jewish community. And the person who gives his apologies for not being here, Peter Kyle, he was supposed to be here, he really personifies the other side of the story, which is we need to be an asset for the city of Brighton and Hove. We recognize that we need to be a community of communities. So the classrooms we've built for St. Christopher's are part of that. We want to make them really a partner with us in this endeavor. They have 350 kids. We hope they'll use the site regularly, and their parents as well. And they have been really kind to us, and we're working very closely with them. But when Peter was here for the topping out ceremony 2 years ago, I told him that I thought this was going to be the biggest community center on the South Coast, the biggest Jewish community on the South Coast. He corrected me and he said, this is the biggest community center, full stop. There's nothing like it. And so we are, as well as trying to revive the Jewish community down here, which is actually doing pretty well already, we're trying to build an asset for Brighton and Hove so that we can be a big part, not just of the Jewish world, but also the city at large. And as I mentioned before, helping the national Jewish community to have an asset, which they genuinely do not have outside of this city. I need to thank a few people. Our vision would not have been possible without huge generosity. The first and most important people to thank are the Bloom Foundation, who've supported us financially, and Tony in particular, who's been a constant source of support, both in terms of his advice and financially to make this all possible. And we've seen some challenging times, as the rabbi mentioned, through this project, but his confidence in what we're trying to do has never wavered. And without that underlying support, we would not be where we are today. So the Bloom Foundation and Tony deserves a huge vote of thanks. I also want to thank the trustees of the Bloom Foundation, and Sharon, who's the CEO of the Bloom Foundation, is here today, and there are many other trustees, including Linda, who played a huge part, and also BNJC trustees. So I've had the benefit of 2 boards supporting us. Natasha, who's going to speak after me, and is one of the younger people in the community and does an unbelievable amount for the community. It's so exciting that she's going to be speaking in a second. Robert, who keeps me on a short leash, and does an incredible job looking after the site. And Michael, who was the spark which led to this whole site being developed. We had a conversation back in 2015. Without that conversation, we wouldn't be here today. So to all 3 of my BNJC trustees, a huge, huge thank you. I also want to thank our professional team. Back in 2015, 2016, we had an unbelievable number of meetings in Morgan Kahn's offices. Morgan Kahn being the local architects who we've been working with on the project. And we talked about different concepts, and Lap, who I'm glad to say is here today, came up with the overall design, and his creative genius and his dedication to the project made this whole thing possible. And equally, Teva, who's sitting here, who's become a very close friend since those times. Teva designed this shul, and he's done an unbelievable job. And he's also designed the restaurant and many other parts of the site. And Teva, he's just a huge, huge part of what we've done, and everybody should just give him a huge round of applause. Also at those meetings, 7, 8 years ago, were Chris Tunbridge and not then, but now also, Phil Willoughby, who are 2 quantity surveyors who've saved us on many, many occasions. And most importantly also, Bob Whitaker. Bob, who was the project manager for the development, most of you know him. He is an unbelievable engineer, an unbelievable project manager, but an unbelievable human being. He's become a very close friend, and without him, this wouldn't be possible. He deserves, again, everyone's thanks. I also want to thank Jeremy Langford. Jeremy has a special story. Jeremy's sitting here in the front row. Jeremy designed the Museum of Generations under the Kotel, which is an unbelievable structure of glassworks going back to Moses' time, right? So Jeremy designed the glassworks which sit in front of the 2 main entrances, and he also designed the luchot, which are above my head here. He's an unbelievable, talented artist. One of the reasons he really wanted to get involved with this project is that he went to school next door in the 70s, and he received the cane from the then headmaster, Mr. Saunders. He told me the story of patting his backside to try and take away the pain, but that didn't work because Mr. Saunders had seen that trick a few times before. And so I think Jeremy wanted to get one back at them. I have to say that the new head, Elizabeth Lyle, is not cut from the same cloth. She's an unbelievable, caring, lovely person. She keeping an eye on you. No, but she's an incredible partner for us. And I'm glad to say that Rishi Soni, who's one of the governors of St. Christopher's, I haven't had a chance to see him, but I think he's here today. Is Rishi in the building? Oh, Rishi. Thank you for coming, and please pass on our thanks to the school. A lot of the people who've joined the site here, we have maybe 10 or so young couples, some of whom have got children. They're sending their kids your way. Some of them have already sent them your way, so we're very excited to have that collaboration. Thank you. I also need to thank Andrew Osborne, who's unfortunately unable to be with us today. Osborne with a construction company, and Jim McCormick. Now Jim is here. Jim has been our site manager for the last 1.5 years of the project, and I'm glad that he and his wife are here to join. His future wife are here to join us. And Jim has been unbelievable over the last year, so thank you, Jim, as well. So we have, I think, a really beautiful centre. And one of the things we're doing today is unveiling this parochet, which I think is also very beautiful. And I really thank the shul, because BHHC allowed me to dedicate this to my father's memory. And this really tells you this is more about the people than it is about the place. My father's generation were a very, very strong group. I mean, it was a wonderful community back then, and I think that's basically what we're trying to recreate today. And when I think about the people who were part of his community, some of whom we lost quite recently, people like Laurel Wolfe, Derek Carlton, and Danny Brummer, very sadly lost to us. They would have all been so excited by what we're doing, and my father particularly. And my father stood for togetherness. He really tried to bring the communities together, and that's, I think, Tony and my vision for this, to try and make sure that all Jews in this city, and also non-Jews, will come here and really enjoy the site. So it's really about the people, and I say that in particular because it's now about the younger people to step up. We're starting to create the same community that my father enjoyed in his generation. And I say that because we have, when I think about Gina and Jacob who are about to join, Bertie and Tanya who are here already, and Lindy and Stuart, Sarah and Rowan, and many, many other couples. We already have got a strong nucleus of young people, and many more will come. What we need is for those people to come and start to lead the community. I'm over 50 now, and I'm not the young ones, not one of the young ones anymore. People on the board of BHHC have done an unbelievable job in giving their time generously for well over a decade, most of them, and same with Holland Road. People have been in place there and done an unbelievably good job for their communities. Many of those are a generation older than me. What needs to happen now for this community to really thrive is that the young people need to come through, people who've not had a chance to lead necessarily in the past as well, who are incredibly talented. And we need to take the opportunity of having these beautiful facilities and bringing young people with fresh ideas and fresh vision to really drive the future. And that's one of the things I really wanted to impart, and that's why I'm so happy that Natasha is about to speak, because she gives you a sense of the opportunity. She'll tell you, I think, why Brighton is such a great place for her. And hopefully the site kind of adds to that. Now, I also want to finish by thanking my team at BNJC. Sarah and Elaine have worked relentlessly to make this event happen, and Lindy and Jasmine, I'm going to forget someone's name, I'm sure, Ralph and Ali and all the rest who've done an unbelievable job, and also Liz in our nursery, who are supported by Matt and Sherelle. Matt and Sherelle, an incredible couple. Matt's getting speaker at the moment in the next few days, and they're coming over from Israel to be part of the community here with their 3 kids. And they could have gone to Kinloss, they could have gone to any community pretty much across the UK, and they've chosen this one because they see the potential here and they're excited about the opportunity, and they're going to provide such a rich vein of education and shiurim and so on at the site, and they're going to really enliven it. And also I want to make a special mention to Yanir, who's the guy behind the food, so you'll love him. He's really, you've had some of his food already, you have more of it later. And Yanir and Yanir also have been with this project. Take a wave, have a wave. They've been with this project for the last 5 or so years. And Yanir, who was the head chef at Novellino Bistro, it was his concept, and that's an unbelievably successful restaurant. Was also trained by Gordon Ramsay, so it's such a nice thing for this community to have someone of his level with us. And I also want a special shout out to George, our head chef, whose birthday is today. And also Sam and Andy, who are sitting with us today, who have done an unbelievably great job in elevating and bringing the gym to fruition, and it looks beautiful down there. So we've been blessed with this project. Every time we've needed to find someone with specialist skills, we've found them. And for sure, the team that we have, BNJC and the other sister companies, are unbelievably talented, and the facilities are here. So it just remains for everybody in the community to really embrace, come along and enjoy everything we've built. Thank you very much.
Before I introduce our next speaker, I want to pay tribute to a very important and a very dedicated group of people, and they are the board of the Brighton and Hove Hebrew Congregation, who had the foresight, the vision from the future to engage in this project and to allow their land to be developed in such a way. Other communities look backwards. Once again, this is a community which is looking forwards. They're wonderful people. We have here our Vice Chairman, Susan Conway, and unfortunately, the Chairman of the community, David Seidel, is unable to be with us today because his father, who lives in Toronto, has taken a bad medical turn, and David had to go out to be with his dad. So our thoughts and our prayers are with David, with his father, that he shall have a refuah shalema, and shall have a complete recovery. David, there's only one way to describe him. He's a long-standing chairman of the community. He's been in position for, I think about 12 years. And he's seen this project through from the beginning to the end, till now. It's a great shame he's not here. He's a wonderful person. And I look forward to him returning and hearing that his father is in good health. Our next speaker, well, when the Chief Rabbi came here about 6 years ago and spoke at the Rally Hall when this project was launched, he said, it's not about the binyan, it's about the minyan. It's not about the building, it's about the people that come. And Mark's already told us how old he is. I mean, you've got a few years to go, Mark. You're doing fine, you know? And you can only have a future for a community if there's going to be people here in the future. And that's why the young people are so important. One of the trustees, as we've heard, one of the trustees of the BNJC is a young woman, a professional, a barrister, who has put in a lot of time, a lot of dedication to help with everything that's happening here. Her name is Natasha, and I'd like to invite her to come up and speak about her vision, what this means to her, and how she sees the future on this site.
Good evening, everyone. The word privilege has been somewhat overused this week, but I wanted to speak to you this evening about what a privilege it is for me to be here at the opening of BNJC. If you told me, when my husband and I moved to Brighton 4 years ago, that I'd soon be a trustee of the UK's most exciting new Jewish hub, I wouldn't have believed you. We never dreamed that we'd move to a place where we could live by the sea, enjoy jobs that we love, while simultaneously having a kosher restaurant, a beautiful shul, and luckily for us, soon a Jewish nursery, and even more right around the corner. BNJC, in close partnership with BHHC and the many other Jewish organisations in the city, some of whom it's delightful to see here this evening, is really starting to revitalise Jewish life here. Already we've seen sold-out events, thriving breakfast sittings at Novellino, our restaurant, and visitors from across the country. Young Jewish people are moving to the city because of what we're building here and because of what we continue to build together. It's a real honour to be part of this good news story, and it's refreshing to be able to watch the growth, the bloom, one might say, in our Jewish lives recently. We're lucky, I think, looking at today's world, to live in a country which is free from war, and where as Jewish people we are celebrated and we are cherished. It means an awful lot to me that my dad's here this evening. His own father came to the UK on the kinder transport. Again, if you told him that one day his granddaughter would be building a new Jewish community centre on the Sussex coast, I don't know if he'd have believed you. Unfortunately, I never got to meet him. But it has always struck me how different a Jewish life I might have lived were I born 2 generations ago, and how, as a result, it's so valuable and so important for us all to be able to embrace our Judaism. Not everyone is able to do that, and not everyone wants to. But for me, BNJC is a really special opportunity to combine both the personal and the professional lives that I've always wanted to have. I'm also aware that as a young-ish woman, it's still quite unusual for me to be speaking to you in this context, in this setting, and even from this spot in the shul. I think that BNJC is going to provide a platform for a diversity of Jewish leaders who wouldn't otherwise engage with our community. And what would have been a loss will be a huge win for the Brighton community. I don't want this to be unusual. I don't want to be the only woman on the board or on the programme anymore. And I'm thrilled that BNJC is going to be a part of creating Jewish leaders for tomorrow. But for now, I also want to pay tribute to the hardworking inspiring and impressive women of the BNJC and BHHC community who've helped us to make it to this special day. Being part of the wider Brighton community has taught me to realise what's important in life, to recognise what goals might truly be worthwhile, and to know that difference is something to love about another person. Whilst the BHHC community has been around for over 200 years, we are at the beginning of a journey for BNJC. It's fantastic to be able to work with such an established community, whilst at the same time providing something new and different for everyone. So, to use that word again, it's an enormous privilege to be here and to be part of BNJC for all of those reasons. I'm grateful to Chief Rabbi Mirvis for joining us today and over Shabbat. I hope that you all have a restful and peaceful Shabbat and that you feel and continue to feel as welcome here as I do, and that we continue to hold such wonderful events in the years to come. I'll finish by saying an enormous mazel tov to Mark and to Tony. You've built a beautiful thing here in BNJC. Thank you.
The role of a rabbi is extremely varied, diverse, and a rabbi needs to have many different skills. A rabbi has to be a good talker and a good listener. And it's very rare to find a rabbi who seems to have all the skills, can do everything. Our chief rabbi is such a rabbi. He is a scholar, he's an orator, he's an educator, he is a great, great community builder, and he does all this with a great sense of empathy, understanding, and an innate goodness and kindness. And he is a role model for all other Rabbonim, someone that they can aspire to be like. And to use that word again, it's a profound privilege for me to introduce to you our Chief Rabbi, Sir Ephraim Mirvis.
Rabbi and Rebbetzin Reda, all the other Rabbanim who are present, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, Rabbi Reda, thank you so much for your exceptionally kind and warm words of welcome, and may I extend to you a huge yesher koach for all the years through which you have given exceptional leadership here to this community. And I wish you and your dear Rebbetzin bracha v'hatzlacha here for many years to come. And thanks to you for everything that you have done, and please God for that which you will continue to do. Valerie and I are so delighted to be present here today for this historic event, and I don't use the term historic lightly, and we are very much looking forward to spending this Shabbat here in this center with the Brighton and Hove Jewish community. Until this moment, there have been three types of models for outstanding Jewish community leadership in the UK. And they are managing success, managing decline, and maintaining the status quo successfully. From today onwards, we have a fourth model, and we can call it reversing decline. Because that's the story of BNJC. There are many people who have dreams, intentions, ideas, thoughts, who make resolutions, but very few who transform their dreams into reality in a spectacular way. One such person is Tony Bloom. Tony, I recall hearing you in public talking about the way in which you were celebrating Brighton and Hove Albion's promotion to the Premier League. You spoke about the previous years in which there had been a sense of decline, drifting aimlessly towards no great success. You had a dream for your team, you invested in it, and you wanted to see the same thing happening for the Jewish community of Brighton. Well, I want you to know, actually, you've done better with the shul than you have with Brighton Hove Albion. Why do I say that? With Brighton Hove Albion, you got your team into the Premier League. You've now even got them into Europe. But I must tell you, with this centre, the Jewish community is now in the Champions League. You know, I've been looking around in this shul for a rabbi's seat and for a warden's box, and it's only going to be tonight and tomorrow that I'm going to find out where exactly does the rabbi sit. Is he amongst the people, the wardens? And for me, that's a huge statement, because I go around and I see all the shuls, and I kind of rate the seating. And broadly speaking, this is how shuls operate. So you have, in a general sense, I'd say most of the seats are in economy. The wardens sit in business, and the rabbis in first class. It's a spacious area, he's by himself, nobody on top of him. In this shul, every single person is in first class. And this is a symbol of what is happening now in Brighton, because everybody is flying high. The potential is extraordinary. Right from the outset, when I heard about the dream, I became your champion. And now that I've had a chance to go around the center and see what it is about, I'll be your ultimate champion, to call for people to come and live here, for children to thrive in this area, for people to visit, for Shabbatonim to take place, for visitors to come along to the restaurant. Please God, this will continue to be and will expand to be one of the great Jewish centers of this country. And you know, in this regard, everything depends on devotion and commitment. And Mark, you've been absolutely incredible in running the whole project, being behind it, all the conversations you've had with so many people and myself and my office, the passion you've put into it. It's been a labor of love for you. And, you know, Tony and Mark, together with everybody, I just want to say that there's a verse in Psalm 127 which I think is so apt for today. It's the opening verse of that psalm, which reads, Im Hashem lo yivne bayit, shav amlu vonav bo. If the Lord doesn't build a house, all its builders work in vain. There are so many builders of this house, so many dreamers, so many who made the resolution, so many invested financially, the architects, the designers. You've mentioned them, and I'm sure there are many more. But you've had a partner. The partner has been God himself, because he has built this house with you. He has blessed you. He has blessed your vision. And may the Almighty God continue to be with this initiative to enable it to flourish. You've sown seeds, and now it's all here for the taking. And in the Psalms we also read, Yegia kapecha ki tochel ashrecha v'tov lach. When you eat the fruits of your labor, happy are you and it's good for you. There is no greater nachas than to invest in something and then to see it flourishing. And to Tony and to Mark and to your teams, may God bless you to always eat the fruits of your labors here, because it's got your name on it. And we will forever remember your kindness and your dedication and your commitment. And now it's over to us. This Shabbat we'll be reading the portion of Shlach Lecha. Moses sends spies into the Holy Land, and most of them come back and they're despondent, and this is not for us. And two of them, Joshua and Caleb, say, no, Tovah ha'aretz ma'od ma'od, this land is exceedingly good, let's go for it, let's strive for it. The promised land is in our sight. That's been the situation in Brighton. The promised land has been in your sight. And now with this complex, you've arrived. But what you make of it is up to you. What we within UK Jewry make of it is up to all of us. I bless you for giving us this incredible gift. And may Almighty God enable the entire Jewish community from now onwards to utilize these facilities, to see BNJC as a model of excellence for all Jewish communities around the country, transforming dreams into wonderful reality. And may this incredible center now only go from strength to incredible greater strength within the course of time. God bless you all, and Mazel Tov.
I grew up in a place called Ilford in Essex. At that time, it was the largest Jewish community in Europe. And nearby, there was a very nice area called Woodford. My sisters used to go to school there. And there was a statue in Woodford. It was a statue of Winston Churchill, who was the MP for that constituency for many, many years. To the people of Epping and Woodford, he was a hero. They were proud of him. And he meant a lot to them. When I came back to England after studying abroad, and my first pulpit was in the Midlands, I used to run play schemes for children. I used to take them to Dudley. There's a zoo in Dudley. It's called Dudley Zoo. That makes sense. And in Dudley, there's another statue. It's a statue of a great footballer. His name was Duncan Edwards. He died tragically at a very young age in 1958 in the Munich air crash. And the people in his town in Dudley in the Black Country put up a statue because he was their hero and they were proud of him. And they basked in his reflected glory, however briefly. In Brighton and Hove, we have a hero. He's sitting right here, and his name is Tony Bloom. What he has done for this city in general and for our community is immense. It's immense. It couldn't possibly have been foreseen or believed. And it's my great privilege once again and my great pleasure to call upon him to give the vote of thanks.
Chief Rabbi, Rabbi Radar, other Rabbanim, ladies and gentlemen, it is truly an honour for me personally, alongside Linda and our fellow trustees at the Bloom Foundation, to be with you here today to celebrate this landmark. We are so proud of everyone who has helped Brighton and Hove Hebrew Congregation and BNJC get to this point. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my childhood growing up in Brighton. My parents, who I'm delighted to say are with me today, brought me up in a Jewish home, and I used to love being involved in the Jewish community, both at the shul I used to go to, which was our rival at Holland Road, I'll say that quietly, and going to Rally Hall for many activities, BBYO, JLGB, etc. And so fast forward all these years when there was talk, when Mark first had discussions with Michael David about what may happen here. Maybe the site will be sold and we'll have a much smaller synagogue. We decided, is there anything that we can do? I really was passionate about stepping in because I wanted to revitalise this community, which I'd see dwindle year on year over the last 30, 40 years or so. And so here we are today, and it's my job to give a vote of thanks to many, many people. I'll start with our speakers today. And firstly, many thanks to you, Natasha. I know you're a first-rate barrister, but we're really excited to having you here and being one of the first trustees of BNJC. We're really proud of you, and we hope you spend a huge amount of time here and your passion comes through in our community. And I'd also like to thank, alongside Natasha, her two fellow trustees, Michael Davis, who I just mentioned, who was the spark in his conversation with Mark, who this was going back 8 years, and it was that inspiration which allows us to be sat here in such an amazing facility. And also to Robert Comer, a very good friend of mine. He's been a fellow director of Brighton and Hove Albion with me for probably at least 14 years. He's got a great source of wisdom. His understanding of everything to do with Brighton is absolutely superb. So thank you to all of our trustees. Rabbi Rader, first of all, thank you so much for your extremely kind words just earlier. You've been the rabbi here for almost 20 years, I've been told. It's a very long time. And your warmth and care for our community, our congregation, always shines through. And particularly through COVID, and being off-site, those situations for all of us have been really, really difficult, and your leadership has absolutely shone through. I would like to sincerely thank the board of BHHC and its a dedicated board led by David Seidel for allowing us to build in this incredible space. And we really look forward to working very closely together for many, many years and decades to come. And we're really looking forward coming next year to the 200-year anniversary of BHHC. It's truly remarkable, and I'm so happy to be involved in, as the Chief Rabbi said, is something which is unique in our community, not managing the decline, but reversing the decline. It means so much to me, and obviously so much to so many of you. And to the Chief Rabbi, first of all, it's a great honour that you're here with us today. And again, thank you so much for your very, very kind words just before. You've shown incredible leadership over this project. You spent time with us, listening to us, and helping us with any concerns that we may have. You've offered us so many experiences that you've had leading Jewish communities, not only in the UK, but literally across the world. And your invaluable advice about how to build our community has been immense. And most of all, has been your source of encouragement when there have been bumps in the road. And you've dedicated publicly to help to drive unity within the Jewish community in Brighton in general and in the Orthodox community in particular. And today what stood out for me most in your speech is about wanting to lead our city as an inspiration for the whole of the UK. A wonderful shul and community centre, I assure you, will bring generations of Jewish learning, Jewish culture, and of course Jewish food. And stepping back from this project, I'd also like to pay tribute to the work the Chief Rabbi has done on the national and the international stage. He has put his head above the parapet at difficult times to fight for what is right and to call out bigotry where others have been fearful to do so, and with great effect. The Jewish world in the UK feared a Corbyn government, and the Chief Rabbi's intervention has definitely proved to be a major significance. And I'm so pleased that the Labour Party now has rediscovered its core values, in no small part to Sir Keir Starmer's strong stance against anti-Semitism. And I'd like to thank Peter Kyle, who can't be here. He's the local MP, the local Labour MP for Hove, for his total support throughout this whole project. He has met with our team. He has made speeches advocating for our project and has been consistent in promoting the centre to the entire city. A chance for our centre to become a real, thriving community. To the leaders of the council, to the police, the leaders of the Jewish community across the spectrum, and also the leaders of other faith communities who are here today and have been a big source of support for us. I would like to thank you all. And lastly, amongst all my thanks, a massive, massive congratulations to Mark, who we've been through a lot together. He has put his heart and soul into this over so many years. He's been leading the building project, leading BNJC, making sure as soon as we open, as many of the different facilities, the different activities will get going as quickly as they can. You really have put your blood, sweat, toil, everything into this. I'm really proud of you. I'm so proud of your passion, and we should all really be very, very proud of you. And many thanks to the whole team of BNJC, who over the last few months, and particularly in the lead up to this weekend, you've put in so many hours, so much work to make today, this weekend, what it's going to be. So thank you to you too. And to all of you here today, thank you for being part of this weekend and our celebration. I look forward to seeing you at many events in the future, many simchas, and I hope that we all come to use it, love coming, get our friends, family to use it, because this place will only thrive as much as I hope it will do, and we all hope it will do, is if we all come together and use it very, very much. So again, thanks to you all, and I hope you enjoy the rest of today. Thank you.
We're going to do something very special now. The five of us are going to sign these cards, which will be treated and then etched into one of these tubes over here. This wall is going to eventually reach all the way up there, and this is going to be a memory of this event here today. Is there a bracha we make? They would always ask, is there a bracha you make? I can only have one go.